Frozen dairy dessert is not a flavor, it is a federal confession. Under FDA law, any product that falls below the legal standard for ice cream must say so on the label. And several of the biggest names in your grocery store freezer made that switch years ago without announcing it. Under FDA Code of Federal Regulations Title 21, Section 135.110, a product can only be called ice cream if it contains a minimum of 10% milk fat, weighs at least 4.5 pounds per gallon, and meets minimum total milk solids requirements. Anything below that threshold is legally prohibited from using the words ice cream and must instead carry the label frozen dairy dessert. That is not a branding decision. It is a regulatory requirement because the product failed the standard. There is also a separate issue of air content called overrun, which allows manufacturers to double the volume of their product by pumping it full of air, and a separate pattern of sweetener substitution where real sugar gets replaced with corn syrup to cut costs. 7 of the most recognized names in the freezer aisle fail on at least one of those 3 counts. Brand 7 to never buy. Great value and generic store, brand tubs. The oversized value tubs at the bottom of the freezer aisle are engineered to barely clear the FDA minimum, rather than to actually deliver quality. They contain exactly the 10% milk fat required to carry the ice cream label while filling the rest of the volume with maximum allowable air, corn syrup in place of cane sugar, artificial flavoring, and a full stabilizer package of carob bean gum, guar gum, and carrageenan. These gums exist specifically to compensate for the absence of quality dairy fat, mimicking the smooth texture that real cream would naturally provide. The label says, ice cream. The product is built to the absolute floor of what that label is allowed to cover, and the price tells you exactly what went into it. Brand 6 to never buy, Friendly's. Friendly's carries a lot of brand heritage from its restaurant chain, and that association gives the grocery store product a credibility it has not earned on the ingredient level. The CBS Pittsburgh Consumer Investigation in 2013 confirmed that specific Friendly's products, including the chocolate peanut butter cup variety, are classified as frozen dairy dessert rather than ice cream. Across the line more broadly, Friendly's uses corn syrup in most formulations and carries a standard stabilizer package. The company has marketed itself around family and quality for decades while reformulating a meaningful portion of its grocery lineup away from the standard those associations imply. Brand 5 to never buy, Blue Bunny. Blue Bunny is a Wells Enterprises brand acquired by Ferrero in late 2022, making it part of the same conglomerate that owns Nutella. For years before and after that acquisition, Blue Bunny has operated with a significant share of its product range in frozen dairy dessert territory rather than the genuine ice cream category. Multiple independent consumer food reviews confirm that many Blue Bunny products carry excessive air content, corn syrup as a primary sweetener, and the stabilizer package that substitutes for the textural role dairy fat would otherwise play. The novelty bar lines and several of the tub varieties are confirmed frozen dairy dessert products, not ice cream. Brand 4 to never buy, Turkey Hill flavored varieties. Turkey Hill has a genuinely split product lineup that the CBS Pittsburgh investigation used as a direct case study. Their core simple flavors do carry the real ice cream label. Their stuffed varieties, which are the flavors loaded with cookies, candies, and mix-ins that anchor the more heavily marketed part of the product range, are classified as frozen dairy dessert. Turkey Hill has publicly confirmed that stuffed varieties are produced as frozen dairy dessert to keep production costs manageable when adding expensive mix-in ingredients. That is an honest disclosure, but it means the shoppers reaching for the most visually appealing Turkey Hill products are specifically getting the lower quality product while the standard ice cream line sits next to it on the same shelf. Brand 3 to never buy, Dreyer's and Edy's slow churned. Dreyer's in the West and Edy's in the East are the same brand under different regional names, and their slow-churned line is one of the most effectively marketed examples of a cost reduction disguised as a quality feature anywhere in the entire freezer aisle. The slow-churned process uses lower temperatures and higher mechanical pressure to break dairy fat into smaller particles, allowing manufacturers to use significantly less actual cream while maintaining a texture that mimics full-fat ice cream. The result is a product with roughly half the fat of standard ice cream, dramatically higher air content, and a stabilizer package to hold the structure together. The word churned on the label sounds artisanal. The process it describes is an industrial fat reduction technique built to lower production costs, not improve quality. Brand 2, to never buy, Breyer's frozen dairy dessert line. Breyer's is the most important and thoroughly documented entry on this entire list. It is the oldest ice cream manufacturer in the United States, founded in 1866, and the scale of its reformulation was publicly confirmed and widely reported. Beginning in 2013, Breyer's converted the majority of its most popular flavors, including butter pecan, cookies and cream, chocolate chip cookie dough, and Rocky Road, from ice cream to frozen dairy dessert. The company explained the change on its own FAQ page, saying the new products were blended in a whole new way to create a smoother texture. The CBS Pittsburgh investigation tested reformulated Breyer's against the original and found a noticeable quality difference in a blind taste test. Breyer's made the switch while maintaining the same suggested retail price as the ice cream versions that preceded them. A separate class action lawsuit was filed against Breyer's, specifically alleging that products labeled natural vanilla used synthetic vanillin, a lab-produced compound derived from guaiacol or lignin from wood pulp, rather than genuine vanilla extract. The combination of the widespread frozen dairy dessert reformulation and the synthetic vanilla labeling issue makes Breyer's the most thoroughly documented case of a major brand departing from the standard its century of heritage marketing is built on. Brand 1 to never buy, Halo Top. Halo Top sits at number 1 because it represents the most recent and fastest growing version of the same substitution logic that runs through every other brand on this list, just wrapped in a health marketing narrative rather than a heritage one. Halo Top is classified as light ice cream under FDA rules, a category that requires at least 50% less total fat than standard ice cream. Achieving that while maintaining a scoopable texture requires the same formula as frozen dairy dessert: very high air content, sugar substitutes, and added protein supplements in place of dairy richness, a gum stabilizer package to hold the structure together, and significantly less cream than the packaging implies. The pint you can eat alone is light because it is largely air, erythritol, and additives rather than dairy. Halo Top grossed nearly $350 million in annual sales at its peak, making it the fastest growing ice cream brand in the United States by 2017, built almost entirely on the proposition that a heavily engineered frozen dessert is a meaningful substitute for real ice cream. Brand worth buying, Häagen-Dazs. Häagen-Dazs is the most widely available super premium ice cream in the United States and consistently earns that classification through its ingredient list rather than just its price point. A standard Häagen-Dazs vanilla pint contains cream, skim milk, sugar, egg yolks, and vanilla extract with nothing else. No corn syrup, no gums, no stabilizers, no emulsifiers. The fat content runs at 14 to 18% butterfat, nearly double the FDA minimum, and the overrun runs at roughly 25 to 30%, rather than the near 100% overrun common in budget frozen dairy dessert products. The result is a pint that is noticeably heavier per volume and melts into cream rather than foam. Häagen-Dazs is widely available at Costco in multi-pint formats at a unit price that makes the quality difference genuinely accessible. Brand worth buying, Ben & Jerry's Core Pints. Ben & Jerry's full-fat core pint line, specifically not the Muforia or light variants, earns its spot through a short, readable ingredient list and fair trade sourcing certification on both cocoa and vanilla. The cream and milk base meets the real ice cream standard, the sweetener is cane sugar rather than corn syrup, and the brand publishes ingredient sourcing information that most competitors do not. Independent tasting panels consistently rank the core Ben & Jerry's line among the best-tasting mass-market ice creams available, a result directly tied to a product built with real cream at genuine fat levels rather than stabilizers and air. Brand worth buying, Tillamook. Tillamook is a farmer-owned cooperative based in Oregon, with a reputation built across cheese and butter before expanding into ice cream, and the same standards apply across the entire product range. Tillamook ice cream uses cream, non-fat milk, cane sugar, egg yolks, and natural flavors with no corn syrup and no gum stabilizer package. The butterfat content sits consistently in the premium tier, and the cooperative ownership structure means quality decisions are made by the dairy farmers supplying the milk rather than by a corporate cost optimization process. Tillamook is increasingly available at Costco in large format containers at prices that sit between the Dreyer's tier and the Häagen-Dazs tier, making it one of the most practical quality upgrades in the freezer aisle. And drop a comment and tell us which brand you have been buying without realizing what was actually in it. And subscribe, because we are running the same label check across every major grocery category, so you stop paying real food prices for products the FDA would not allow to call themselves the real thing.